The minute you think outside accomplishments is what's going to bring happiness into your heart, be very careful, because even the way that study was written, Matt, that you just talked about, what it quoted was, at what level would it make you happy?
Right.
And it's like, is it? And that, I think that's why it's always, 2 to 3 times more. It is always 2 to 3 times more, because that never brought the happiness. It was never the correlation of the happiness. It's where the disconnect happens with all of this. So it's like, yeah, it's always going to be 2 to 3 times more if you think that that's what's going to make you happy.
Welcome everyone to 10 Tenths, where we coach real estate agents out of burnout into high-performing businesses that fuel their life. As always, I'm Matt Pinelli, joined by the great Garrett Fry, and you're here. And we're so happy that you are. So welcome. And we got a great topic today. We're kind of going to go into some mindset stuff, talk about vision and things, and some of the traps that come around with that, particularly in real estate. Garrett, this is some topic that I think hits real estate agents, a lot of them maybe in the gut sometimes, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So before we dive into that, guys, if you have not checked all of our stuff out, head over to 10tenths.co. We have Inside Track membership with bonus content. We have 11 Circle every single week group coaching, which is incredible. We do one-on-one coaching, and we all do these other stuffs too, like business planning, accelerators, and things that come along. And you can subscribe to our newsletter to make sure you don't miss out on that. Plus, we have a really fun announcement coming up about maybe an event that might be happening later this year. So stay tuned for all of that stuff. But Garrett, good morning. Let's dive in.
Yeah, man, let's do it. I'm excited to talk about this topic. And you made a kind of a reference of like very common in real estate. And what we're going to talk today about is fulfillment around money.
Yeah.
Fulfillment around where we're going, what we're building, what we're doing. And Matt, you have some interesting studies that you've been reading about. I've had a lot of coaching calls lately where I've had people going like, what are we doing? Like, what is this all about? Why am I pushing this hard? Why am I straining myself this hard? Like, what does this world want from me to be, to say, this is what success looks like? This means you've made it. This is what this is all, all about. And I think that we can get caught in this trap. And you specifically said, we see this in real estate a lot. Real estate's an interesting business because we have a lot of peers that are not hired on by a company where we get a salary and we're waiting for our next raise that we're going to get, which will bump us up a little bit, or maybe get a promotion in the company that's going to allow us to, now we're a manager, we're going to make a little bit more money and we got a little bit more status in the company, a little bit more say. Real estate, you don't have that. You have all these peers that are running kind of shoulder to shoulder, and they're all kind of going, well, what does success look like? I mean, there's that guy over there. He seems to be successful. There's that one over there. You can't see behind the scenes though, Matt. You can't see what it's costing them to run the business, to do those levels of business. How much are they even really taking home at the end of the day? And how happy really are they? Can we see that side of it too at the end of all of this? And it's a trap that a lot of us fall into. And we're going to talk about this today. We're going to share with you what we've seen, what we know. I'm excited to kick this around with you, man, because it's an interesting ride for a lot of people going, why are we doing all this?
Yeah. Well, and if we've talked about whys before, purpose, vision, mission, these things are core to what we do at 10 Tenths, because we think and believe and know, studies prove this, that it is essential in terms of helping you build fulfillment in your life and also building a business plan that actually works sustainably, so that you don't look around, in 5, 10, 15 years and go, what was I doing? Even though you might have success, but you also may not. There's a big risk. I think one of the illusions with success stuff is we'll look at people and we'll say, man, that guy figured it out. And maybe they did. Also, maybe they had a special talent for that. Maybe they had a special propensity. Like they really loved doing whatever they did to grind up to that space. And that may not be within us. We cannot repeat what somebody else has done necessarily. Okay, you mentioned like running shoulder to shoulder. I was visualizing like a marathon. Like, yeah, if you put in the training and everything for a marathon, you're going to get better. You're going to get faster. is that something that you want to do? Because anybody can go out and run a marathon. You may have to walk it. You may crawl across the finish line. You may run it and be just fine, starting from scratch right now. But to improve is always going to be some level of effort around training and nutrition and things like that. And your business is worked the same way. And if we don't have a clear vision of what we want life to look like, then the business will just take over. And now it'll just all be about how do we make more money, which ultimately becomes frustrating, I think, Garrett, because it will conflict with our just natural kind of back end thoughts on what our vision looks like and what we like to do. And we just make these then sacrifices that don't make sense to our conscious mind because it's all being driven by our subconscious that has no vision, if that makes sense.
Well, 100%. And I think that, there's a book that we're just getting into reading called The Simple Pathway to Wealth that I'm really excited to jump into, get deeper into, because I've watched a handful of this gentleman's videos. And one of the ones that I was watching, he was saying, everybody's financial freedom number is different of when they actually get to go like, oh my gosh, like I don't have to worry about this anymore. Everything's covered. Everything's good. We're going to be fine. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to pay my bills. I don't have to worry about how this is all going to happen. The money side, I'm financially free on. And he made the comment that some people, like, they can make a couple $1 million this year and they are still not making ends meet. And there are some people that, they make 100,000 this year. Like, they're golden. They're great. They've set themselves up correctly and they're fine. And I watch this with the people that we coach. I have lots of people I've coached to over $1 million in GCI over a year. I have one person that I coached to over 2 million in GCI, and I don't coach teams. So anybody who's listening to this right now, I'm not talking team income. This is individual agent selling with maybe an assistant. I love it when I find, I'm thinking about one person specific. I love it when I find somebody who's making $300,000+ a year, traveling all over the world with the person that they love, being able to create adventure after adventure. I love it when I'm supposed to be on a coaching call with this person and they're like, dude, and they're like sending me a picture from the mountain heli-skiing up in Canada. And I'm like, really? And he's like, I'm not going to make the call today. Just bill me. Like, like that makes me smile so big. And it's interesting, that person that's making the 300,000 and, has all these adventures going on, they could very easily listen to me talk about somebody who's doing $1 million in GCI and go, well, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should just set that as my goal. Maybe I should go after that. Maybe, if everybody else is doing it, maybe that's the right thing. And we've had so many calls where he's like, I know I could do more. Like, it's okay though. Like, if I just hold this picture, he's very clear on who he is, what's important, what his vision is, what his mission statement is. Like, he knows it internally at his core. It's easy for him just to go, it's cool if somebody else wants that. This is my thing though. And I think it's the biggest problem where a lot of people, they don't know what they're really trying to do. They don't know clearly what their mission is with this life. They don't know what their vision is with this life. And then all they're left with is going, what is that person? What do they have as their goal? Manager, what should I put down for my goal this year? Oh, just raise it by 30%. Okay, 30% more than what I did last year. And the whole brain then goes to, but why? Why am I, what is this all about? This is where the trap happens.
Yeah. Well, I think it mostly becomes from money getting placed first on the priority list as a default because we didn't have anything else to place there. Instead of money becoming a fuel to those things and then figuring everything else out from there. But if money is the number one on the list, there's no vision for it. It's just do more, right? Now, everything else falls victim to whatever's required in the limited thinking to earn more. And we can use Ryan Serhant as an example because a lot of people look up to him. And what it also still baffles me, it's very fascinating that there's a ton of people in real estate who don't know who he is, which also showcases another thing that you think something is really big and maybe it's not, right?
But so social media just keeps pumping it to you, Matt, where you're like, everybody's got to know who this guy is. Well, and it's like, well, your feed has said, we think you like him.
Yeah. Well, I watched $1 Million Listing from day one. I love those shows. I was fascinated by them. I know a lot of people in the industry like, oh, they're not a great depiction of what's going on in the industry. it's entertainment. I enjoyed it. And so I've watched Ryan for a long time, ever since he was first on $1 Million List in New York, like kind of basically faking it until he made it kind of thing.
Yep.
Although he was making it. And that's the discrepancy. A lot of people will look at Ryan today and be like, I want that. I want to be that successful, or even just a fraction of that success. But they don't go back and look and map, well, what did he do to get there? What does he enjoy? What is his vision and goals and everything? And you and I were talking about him yesterday a little bit around, like, you know, he's kind of one of those guys that kind of can rub you the wrong way. He might seem a little kind of like an asshole or whatever.
Arrogant. Yeah.
But, you know, then you kind of pay attention to things like, it looks like he's having fun, right? And that's the thing. Like, I look at him and I'm like, that guy's probably having a blast with a lot of things. There's a lot of stress and different things that come along with what he's trying to build, but that's a passion for him. And it's clear, just like seeing Gary Vee out there hustling.
Yeah.
And so when you start to then map, I want those results, but I don't want to put in that same level of hustle. Where's the easy way around it? Now we are just trying to map to somebody else's vision on a road that doesn't go there. And instead, if we placed our own vision, it would be a lot easier to then go to where we want to go and still be really proud of what other people are doing as well, and celebrate their successes without diminishing your own.
And here's the cool thing. Like, you're never going to be Ryan Serhant. You're never going to be Gary Vee. You're never going to be Tony Robbins. All you can do is be the best you in an environment like that could be walking in alignment with that. But so many of us just like start to build our vision, and then you get there and you're like, but my vision doesn't look like my reality doesn't look like this vision that I had in mind, which was somebody else's world. And then you can't enjoy the environment that you're actually in. You can't go like, this was my success, because you're always playing this comparison game.
Well, and Ryan and Tony, they're never going to be you, right? Like, nope. Tony Robbins didn't become as successful as he is today by saying, hey, I want to go be like that person, right? No, he had a vision of what he wanted to do, and he bought into it at a very young age, and then continued on that path to where he is today. And that is the beauty of where we all can go. If you lay your own path, you're going to be able to figure it out and become who you are supposed to be. Because as successful as all these other people are, they can't be you and you can't be them.
Now, Matt, okay, I want you to share this book that because this kind of kicked off part of what this journey was today, because we were talking about, like, you know, at what point is enough? What point are you making money to a space that you're like, okay, that's going to make me happy? How much happiness is actually tied to the amount of money that you're making? And there's many studies out there that say no correlation. Like, really, at the end of the day, there's really no correlation out there between the amount of money making and the actual personal happiness that you're getting to enjoy in this world. You might get to go do some cool stuff. You might be able to go fly on the nicer jet. But at a core, happiness of your soul, like, there's a lot of studies that go, that doesn't necessarily correlate. So
yeah.
You were reading this book, Matt, and you were telling me about some of the studies that are done in here, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is great.
And this is an interesting book. So it's the 5 Types of Wealth by Sahil Bloom, which, it's funny, and I was telling you this, Garrett, and in starting to read this book, I'm like, okay, I'm going to read this book from a guy who's 8 years younger than me, telling me all about wealth and all this stuff, who made tons of money right out of college, but then discovered this, you know, thing or whatever. I think it's great. I like the book. And he does report on studies, which I do enjoy books that go back and reference all these things, because it helps frame a lot of context, particularly for me going into this with my own kind of ego problems, I'll say, of like,
who is this child?
Younger guy, super successful and all this stuff. But then when he starts backing it up with all this data, I'm like, oh, kid's really smart. Anyway, there's this part in the beginning of the book where he's talking about this study done by Michael Norton, which it's a bigger study talking about, does money make you happy and at what inflection points? And this references to what you were saying, Garrett, in the book that we're reading for the book of the month, which everybody has a different number of where that happens. But it says in this paper, Researchers asked a group of millionaires, one, how happy they were on a scale of 1 to 10, and two, how much more money would they need to get to a 10 on the happiness scale. Commenting on the results, Norton said, all the way up the income wealth spectrum, basically everyone says they'd need 2 to 3 times as much. 2 to 3 times as much.
Okay, so when you first said this to me, Matt, my brain went, and then the crazy part of that is when they have 2 to 3 times as much, their answer is going to be the same. Like, that's the craziness, because at one point, their wealth was not 1 to 2 to 3. They were
it was
backwards.
a fraction of what they have now. I mean, because these are millionaires, right? So at one point they had, maybe 5% of what they have now, or 1% of what they have now. And so that 2 to 3 times the money they have now wasn't even in the realm of that, right?
Technically, you're there from who you were, let's say, years back, and you're still saying, and that's the thing. It's like, it just keeps going. Yeah. Sorry for interrupting.
No, I mean, it is this never ending loop, because then Sahil goes on to say that he asked his friends the same thing from people worth 30 million, 100 million, 3 million. The range of what they all said with the same questions was 2 to 5 times as much, right? And so kind of median's right out there at 3, except for his one friend who said, honestly, I'm happy where I am. Although if I had a little bit more, I could fly private more often, which would be nice, right? And so there's always other, and I think part of this too, Garrett, when I think about it, is a lot of it has to do with the way we frame it in society, right? Because yeah, there's all these other things that I would do if I had more money. Of course we would. So if that's the leading thought process of a question like this, like how much more money do you need to be happier? Now our brains are only thinking only about money, versus if you frame the question as, well, what would help make you happier, or what would help you be happier? Maybe money wouldn't be the first thing that we think about. So there's that nuance to this too, but it is interesting. It's just a never ending cycle. You could always have more. And he goes on to talk about his friend who sold a company, celebrated by, renting out a yacht and thinking everybody's going to be all impressed and be so cool. And then his friend boarded the yacht and looked across the, where they were docked and was like, whoa, I wonder who's on that one. And it was a bigger yacht. And he's like, you know what? There's always going to be a bigger boat.
So that reminds me so much. I haven't told this story in a very long time, but when I was a kid, my dad was doing very well, and he said, "You know what? We're gonna buy a brand new Mercedes, and we're gonna do European delivery." He goes, "We're gonna plan a whole trip to Europe. We're gonna pick up at the factory." And I remember very clearly, I was only like 10 years old, and I remember walking through the factory, and they have all the cars all lined up, all these brand new Mercedes. They're all backed in, hoods up, and you walk down the line, and then they go, "This is your car." And they introduce you basically to your car, and they walk you all around it. And this literally just came off the factory line. And it's a really unique experience. And I remember my dad, used to tell the story all the time about how much he felt like he had made it. Like, this was this moment of like, oh man, he's like, I've got a European delivery of a brand new Mercedes. Here I am. My dad was born in Germany, so he's got all this ties into like, I'm now back here in Germany buying a car from the factory. And that moment lasted all the way till we got on the Autobahn. And he's cruising down the Autobahn. I remember this very clearly. And in the rearview mirror, he sees something blinking its lights, and all of a sudden goes ripping past us as a Ferrari. And my dad said, in that moment, all of a sudden, all I was driving was a Mercedes Benz, and somebody else is enjoying that Ferrari. And I think that it's an easy thing. It took all the wind out of his sail. It only took like 30 minutes, and he was just loving the Autobahn, and then all of a sudden Ferrari goes by. And I think this can happen so easily in our world and the world of comparison that we're in. And so much, and this is why I said, shoulder to shoulder with all these people that aren't looking for promotions. They're not looking to be the manager. They're all every day doing these little things that are going to make their businesses grow internally that we can't see. We don't know what's going on really, but we're setting goals based off of, well, if they can do 300,000, I can do, if they can do 1 million, I should probably be doing 1 million, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, which means it can turn into this really weird game. And then to top it off of not knowing like, but what is our game that we're playing? And getting to really enjoy our moments with this stuff. When you're playing the comparison game, it's really hard to ever get to enjoy anything because somebody's always going to have a bigger boat. I love that line so much.
And what's great about that, really fascinating story about your dad, by the way. I thought you were going to say like they were going to introduce him to his car and then right next to it was another guy getting introduced to like the next model up or something like
No, it's a damn Ferrari that did it.
Which there's a pretty big gap there too, right? I mean, but it's even the little things like you could have, you know, oh, you got like 2 houses next to each other. And it's like, oh, you guys added the screen porch. Oh, that's fascinating, you know, versus there's always something else to compare to.
Yep. Yeah, there's always something going on, always the next level. And I think for again, for a lot of people, it just continues to take the fun out of all the joy of what we're trying to strive for. And it's painful sometimes. It's painful. I'll say this too. Watching it from a coach's perspective, watching somebody that is actually, you look at them and they're like, you hit your goals. Like you did all the things you said you wanted to do, and you're still kicking yourself now because somebody else did a little bit more or something else happened in your office. And it's just like, oh my gosh, you need to celebrate. We see it happen, Matt, when somebody all of a sudden resets their goals. We're halfway through the year. They're like, I think I'm going to hit my goal. And, you know, my 500,000 that I said, I'm going to raise it to 7 because that's my new goal. And then they hit 6 and they beat themselves up. And it's just like, what are you doing this for?
Well, and this is where like running your own race, because bigger may not mean better, right? Just, we need to disqualify money being the first thing. I'm not saying that money's not important. I want to make more money. I'm sure everybody listening would enjoy making more money. That's not the issue. The issue is when that becomes the thing, when we all have individual races that we are set out to run. We all have these individual paths. I mean, this is in everything too. I mean, it's even in scripture where it says, run the race that is marked out for you, right? It's everywhere in our lives to say, hey, don't put this up on the pedestal, focus on this and your life is going to be fulfilled, which comes back to, Garrett, do we have a strong vision of where we want to go? And I do think it's okay to like, you know, do a little vision shopping maybe and see what other people are doing to just be exposed to other stuff. But it still comes back to like, what is your core vision for yourself that's going to be fulfilled for you?
I think what you just said is really important because it's not ignore everybody. You know, the breaking of the 4-minute mile, there's a reason that when all of a sudden people realized that you could break the 4-minute mile and all of a sudden, everybody broke the 4-minute mile. It was just we didn't even know that was possible. But now that we do, all of a sudden it becomes a possibility.
Right.
And I think that it is good to look outside the box. There's a reason we read. There's a reason we're constantly learning and educating ourselves to go, well, what are things that are in my blinders that I'm not even looking at right now? Matt, we've talked about doing, you know, our event coming up that we're planning. And there's a piece of that event that is designed to make people go, oh my gosh, I just experienced something that I do every single day, and I didn't realize I could do it at that level, like crazy level. And all that does is make your brain stop and go, what are the things outside of what I've put on the parameters of what I think I can do, what I think I'm capable of? That's the beauty of looking at the people around you, is to kind of go, what is that? What does it all look like out there? I think the question people need to ask is it going to make me happy though? Like, I can't attach my happiness to that. I think it's one of the reasons I do so much work on mindset, Matt, is because happiness is going to come. I'm going to sound I've been spending my time in Japan with all the monks and all that kind of stuff up in the mountains here recently. I found myself making Confucius quotes all the time as I was walking around these monasteries. It's like, if you trip over that, Confucius says, fall on face once. Shame on you. Fall on face twice. Like, but happiness comes from within. Like, I hate to say it. If you want to be happy, find that way to find that internally. Find that way to look at the things you're doing every single day, that you're bringing the joy of the things that are around you into your world. The minute you think outside accomplishments is what's going to bring happiness into your heart, be very careful, because even the way that study was written, Matt, that you just talked about, what it quoted was, at what level would it make you happy?
Right.
And it's like, is it in that? I think that's why it's always, 2 to 3 times more. It is always 2 to 3 times more, because that never brought the happiness. It was never the correlation of the happiness. It's where the disconnect happens with all of this. So it's like, yeah, it's always going to be 2 to 3 times more if you think that that's what's going to make you happy. If we can separate from that and say, it's never going to make you happy, it's not what brings happiness, that comes from something else. Should you still go out and make a lot of money? Yeah, if that's something that's important to you. But don't get lost and confused that you think that's where the happiness comes from.
Well, you make me think, Garrett, about the scale of 1 to 10 on happiness. Should we put it on a scale of 1 to 10, or should we make it binary, right? 0 or 1, because then it's a lot harder to say, well, I need more money to be more happy. It's like, well, if you're happy now, 1, like, we're there. And there's books written about happiness comes first and then wealth comes after that as well. In fact, I forget the name of the book, but it was recommended to me by a client of mine, Steve Flasterer in DC. And it was all about getting happiness first, figuring it out for yourself internally, because then everything else will come. Because you think about it, every experience you've had, if you're happy going into it, it's a much more enjoyable experience for you and for the other people who are experiencing it with you. If you show up to work happy, you have a productive day, right? If you show up to a showing happy, the client's probably going to be happy at the end of it as well. But if we show up with these thoughts of lack or scarcity or lamaze, we're not going to have a good time, right? Which
It's like,
we don't want that.
Disneyland's the happiest place on earth. It's not going to make you happy, though. Like, it is something that you need to go there prepared to say, okay, like, I'm entering into this with, I'm so excited to be at Disney. There are people that I could take to Disneyland and they're going to be miserable the whole time they're there, because it's not their goal. It's not their thing. They don't want to be around all those people. This is not the fun day I wanted to have. I really wanted to be at the beach. That is really where, but how can that happen? This is the happiest place on earth. You should be happy here. What's wrong with you? You've got to know where you're trying to go. And Matt, this is why we talk about it at 10 Tenths. We spend so much time business planning. I had people come to me going, why did we spend so much time up front on the vision and the goals and the core values and like all these things? Because all I want to work on is the business. That's a business planning class, guys. Like, what were you doing? And I'm like, if you're not clear on this, the other stuff doesn't matter. Like, because you could put all this time, all this energy, all this, I can't even come up with a word right now, into building this business. And at the end of it, you go, yeah, I still need 2 to 3% or 2 to 3 times more. I still need more. I still need more. But it's like, what are you trying to solve for? So that's why we spend so much time up front. That's why we dive so deep into that piece up front, is because you can do whatever you want with this business. You can be happy. And again, I want to be real clear. I love to watch people make a lot of money. It is so much fun to watch people go buy that, that Corvette that they've always wanted, to buy that BMW motorcycle they've always wanted, to take their family to the Bahamas, to put their feet in the sand for the first time because they've never been to the beach, to watch people go to buy that dream, cabin up on the mountain where they're going to make memories with their families forever. Like, I look at those and go, that is possible because of the money you earned. There's a lot of people that go buy the Corvette and they go, damn it, I'm supposed to be happy driving this thing. And that's where the correlation needs to be very clear. What's really driving your happiness?
Yeah. People are like, well, better to cry in a Corvette than in like a 1986, Corolla or something.
Dude, well done.
Well, and
there's people out there going, I drive a 1986 Corolla. Oh,
hey, power to you, man. I mean, if that car has lasted,
you can make a Corolla cool though.
I think,
like, you can't.
If you're struggling with this concept too, Garrett, we've had this conversation with so many people, and recently I've had it with a few people where we'll sit down to talk and we'll say, okay, well, where do we want to go? Let's business plan something out. And it's like, well, maybe I should just set a goal for this much money. I'm like, well, are you actually going to, like, do you need that much money? It's like, no, I'm good. I'm like, why do you want to make that money? I don't know. Well, if we don't have the why, it's not going to happen. And I think this is the fallacy of business planning. It's like, well, I'm just going to go do what this person did. I'm going to go do what Ryan Serhant did. Great. If you go do what he did, you probably will be pretty successful. But are you? Just because you have the playbook doesn't mean that you're going to go do it. There's a million marathon training plans out there, yet few people run marathons. And it's not because they don't know what to do. It's get out the door and go run. It's the simplest thing to do. Like, you don't need any tools or anything. You just need shoes. That's it. You don't even need to go to a gym. You just go out and run. But people don't do it because it doesn't align with where they want to go. And that's totally fine. And so don't go pick a plan off the shelf and say, well, I'm just going to go do this. If you can, fantastic. If you are wired that way, go for it. But you are wired that way because you probably aligned with your vision of where you want to go. So you have to figure that out first. And then once you unlock that, then all of a sudden everything comes together. It's easier to prioritize things. It's easier to understand why you're spending time here versus there. And I'll say that it gets easier, but that doesn't mean that it's not difficult to do. Doesn't mean that there still aren't tough choices to make. Kind of like Garrett, you were talking about on our group coaching call the other day, like just because we're in a healthy market doesn't make it an easy market. Just because you have a healthy vision and a good plan doesn't make it easy necessarily to execute on. You still make tough choices, but it's a lot easier to make those choices when you have a good vision.
You know, and you use the running analogy here. My brain's kind of like firing on all of this. And I was thinking about running is an interesting thing because, you know, you can easily sit there and go, I will run when I have the shoes, when I have the running shorts, when I have that, you know, but you got to have that thing that you have on your, you know, your arm that tells you all your vitals while you're running and things like that. I mean, you can raise the bar to whatever you want. And the reality is I can go walk out my front door right now in my Converse, in my jeans, you know, in this shirt. I can go for a run if I wanted to. I could go put down some mileage and, you know, what might I take it a little bit easy because I'm in Converse? Could I do maybe a lighter jog instead of a full-blown sprint? But can I get out and move my body and to make it happen? And there's so many of us that go, but what would people think of me if I'm out running every day in Converse and pants and like, and this goes keeping up with the Joneses and what are everybody thinking about us? You know, easily you can go out with whatever you got and go show up. And I think that that's the biggest thing we talk about is like, if you want results, first thing you got to go do is show up.
Yeah.
The other thing is you need to know, why am I doing this? Because if it's important enough for me to get to that marathon, it doesn't matter if I have running shoes right now. It doesn't matter if I have running shorts. It doesn't matter if I have a water bottle to take with me. What matters is that I start training because that's the vision and that's the goal of what I want to accomplish. In this business, you know, in real estate and the people that we help, the biggest thing I'm going to encourage everybody to do is, one, figure out where you want to go. Figure out what you want this to look like. Figure out what you want to create. You only get one life here. This is it. Every day that goes by, that's one less day you have to work with to get to the goals that you want to get to. That is truth every single day. Every single night you go to bed, you get to ask yourself, did this day push me to the person that I wanted to be, that I'm growing into be, or is it just a day that passed that I don't get to work with anymore? The time's gone. And you know, when it comes down, this is what I loved where we started this. And this goes back to our whole philosophy, which is, you know, your business should fuel your life. It should not consume it. And stop and ask yourself, am I chasing happiness in things that are on the outside of me, or am I taking the time to find the happiness inside? And Matt, you said it in a great way. I don't know if you were quoting something out of a book, but a lot of times success, it follows happiness. You watch people that are miserable and frustrated and they're beating themselves up all the time. Success doesn't come into that world. That doesn't, it's not trailed into that area, but you find people that are happy, that are filled with gratitude, it's crazy how all of a sudden you watch them start to have these things come in of the money and the success and all these pieces. And it's just like, wow, where did all this start to come from? And usually though, you talk to them and they're like, I finally figured out me. Like I got myself squared away, which allowed these things to start to happen around me. And I'm going to encourage all of you to go check that out. I'm going to say it one more time. Your business should fuel your life. It should not consume it. Matt, anything else you want to add around this?
No, I think that's a nice way to wrap it up. That was a perfect summary of everything that we talked about. And I will say, if you need help with this, because sometimes talking to somebody makes a difference, or just being involved with other people who are working on themselves can help. Come join us. Download our app, join the 11 Circle, reach out to Garrett or myself, and we'd be happy to talk with you about it to help you get on the right path. Even if it is just a short conversation or one question, if you're able to then point yourself in a different direction that gets you to where you want to go, like, gosh, we will be so happy for you. We'll be cheering you on. Like, Garrett and I are great cheerleaders. So, you can use
I don't even have the pom-poms and that kind of stuff. I can still do it. Just like running. I can pull it off. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. If you wanted to learn more about what we got going on, go to 1010scott.co. You can see everything that we've got happening there. We have the 11 Circle group coaching. We have the inside track, which you can come and get more information about what we've got going on a daily basis. And we also have personalized one-on-one coaching that Matt and I have been doing for years. And we'd love to help you on that level of your business if that's something that's important to you. Go check out YouTube. We've got our videos up on there. We've got shorts that go up on there. And we also do some live podcasts every once in a while. But you can only be alerted to that if you subscribe to the channel. And it'll ping you when we go live. So with that being said, Matt, thank you, sir. Great episode. I hope you all enjoyed it out there and have an amazing day.
Take care, everybody.